Tree.
Yeah.
Yes.
We hosted. It's quite the fellow.
Oh, nice.
It is.
It was all day Saturday at Benzie High, or Benzie Central.
There he is.
Oh, you man. Good to see you. Where is he?
Yeah.
Happy Tuesday.
Yeah. Okay. Unless he's shaved since then, unless he's cut it.
Yeah.
I was asking him all these questions and he said, well, where are you from? I said, well, I'm in England. He said, well, I'm going to Inland tonight. I said, oh, then I'll see you there. There you
And
go.
the Friday event was wonderful.
I didn't get to go to that, I had something else.
Yeah, that was really nice. Rose?
You got the clicker?
The click is over there.
Okay.
It's already started, so
Okay.
all you need to do is adjust
Be
it
nice if they'd share with everybody else how this works.
No, that's funny.
The parents vote. Got bear hair. And I just washed this.
And some of your own hair.
Oh, cool.
His is,
Hello.
his
Has
is
to
the
be
fuzzy
nice.
stuff.
Happy day.
Going?
How are you?
Good.
That's me.
This is my colleague Brandon, Brandon Asher.
Hello.
Oh,
Hello.
hello.
Hello. Matt Harrell. Nice to meet you. Appreciate it. Peggy, good to see you. Jerry. All right. Hello, everybody. What's
How you
happening,
doing,
young lady? Good to see you. All right. Matt Harrell.
Yeah.
Did I just speak to you on the phone?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
I
her.
appreciate you calling. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
What was his name again? Asher.
I've got some, just a little bit of literature about Oakville from our learning center and stuff.
Cool.
Printed out for anybody who wants it.
Alright.
I can pass it out to you. or-
Sure.
Okay. And then I have some, just about our services and what we got going on there too. So I'll go ahead and just pass them
Thank
out.
you.
You got it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
sure.
think you have it.
Just so you guys meeting here. And then, what we do, I've got a few extra, just pamphlets from the Oakville Coalition, just about Oakville as well, so. I'll take
Give
those.
that to Paige.
You never have too much information.
That's right.
Gotta prevent that oak wilt on our properties.
You guys do it,
That's, it looks like a ladybug.
Yeah,
The sap beetle looks like a little ladybug.
except the dots are bigger.
The dots are bigger, it only has two.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but they look
They
like a ladybug.
you wouldn't even notice unless it's much bigger than a ladybug too.
Huh.
I don't know.
You guys know what it is?
Look how quiet, how wild the leaves
Okay,
look.
guys want to say, okay, just about the
Oh, I'd love
services we
it.
have.
Thank you kindly.
Oh, wait. Peggy, I give you one? Yeah. Thank you. All right. You get one, Ken? Yeah, sure.
We'll start the meeting here in a minute, so.
Sure.
These are some of my favorite things.
Call the meeting to order. Rose, go ahead and roll call.
Brower,
Here.
Miller,
Here.
Zelinski,
Here.
Worth, here, Davis.
Here. All right, go ahead and open up public comment at 6 o'clock. All right, close public comment at 6 o'clock. All right, only business on our agenda is the oak wilt. I have Matt here from Parcels to answer all those questions that we had at the last meeting when we discussed it. So I'm gonna just
Please, I'm again, Matt Harrell with Parcel Tree, and I'm here to answer any questions you guys may have regarding on the proposal I sent to the township, or just anything really about Oakville or Oakville management in general. I'm prepared to answer whatever you'd like.
I just want to throw in a couple things that I walked your trench.
Oh, okay, good.
the other day, and I created for them on that.
Okay, good. Awesome. I can hear that. Thank you.
That shows, the area of concern.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. Because I wanted to be clear, what a small part of the park this is.
Yeah.
It's a small section.
Yeah.
In my world, or in the Oakwood world, it's a small infection. I'm very confident we'll be able to isolate this. We do this by trenching. The trenching's a 5-foot blade.
Question.
Oh, please.
So, again, I've been through this before, my property's been transferred right, we all went through it. Why aren't you harvesting the trees instead? Let nature take its course. I mean, oak trees are pretty invasive, they don't let nothing grow around them. I mean, I don't get it, that's a lot of money to spend. I mean, and why does it gotta be done right now in the fall?
May I answer?
Yeah,
a few of
go
the
ahead.
questions? Yes, sure. Those are great questions. I appreciate it, sir. So we do any type of oak work, oak pruning we'll do in dormancy period just to avoid oak wilt, which is the fungal pathogen. In regards to an infected tree, we also wait until dormancy period, because if I remove it in April or May or June or July, whatever, and I cut it to a low stump, that fungal pathogen goes out, down into the roots and can shoot out to other existing oak trees, and you start to have this chain reaction. There's two ways it spreads: underland by grafting roots, and overland by a beetle, a picnic beetle that has the pathogen on its back. Hopefully I answered your question. Oak wilt management can be very expensive. In regards to harvesting the wood, I always advise my clients to either get the infected wood off of the site completely by us, a contractor, or if you burn the outer cortex or cambium of that trunk wood, that's considered safe. Or tarping that wood completely where no picnic beetles could get in there. I want to say it was like a 2-year period or something. Spores can stay viable for 3 to 6 years. So that's the reason we get it off the site. If you're just trying to remove it, please, sir, go ahead, please.
Again, again, 10, 12 years ago, when we were going through this, me and my friend, a couple buddies, they harvested all the trees and made firewood out of all of it. Okay, they burned it off. So it didn't get wasted. And the cool part about it was, they've got a dozen oak trees on my property, and they were good size. But nothing was gonna ever live in there unless you took those trees out. Nothing.
Yeah. I just would, and if you want to keep that wood, that's awesome. I can appreciate that. I would just highly recommend doing one of the best management practices that I just advised.
So, I've been hearing from a few other people that if you cut the dead ones down and leave it there, but make sure you cover it up and make sure you trench around that stump first.
Okay.
So
I understand. I've heard that before too. So trenching, that's not gonna just stop the spores that are still viable that can be airborne, right? So you would have to tarp it completely. I'm not a big fan of the tarping, Peggy, because wind or old man winter blows this thing, and then the next year no one monitors it, and we have this infection that's still kind of flaring up. I can definitely understand what the gentleman's saying about harvesting the wood, and sounds great, but you would just need to burn that outer cambium layer to get the spores finito, it's gone.
So after you trench or before?
So we trench first,
Yeah.
and then the removals would occur. And the removals are gonna occur in the winter time, so. Yeah, Jim?
I'm a research nerd, so when this came up last week, I went online to try to find out as much as I could about oak wilt,
Sure.
and whether it's state of Michigan, state of Wisconsin, Ohio, not Ohio, Minnesota, Texas, they all seem to pull from the same report and say pretty much the same things, a lot of what you said. One of the things that I kept looking for and could only find one paper about was the efficacy of treatment.
Trenching?
Well,
Or
not
just-
just trenching, treatments, period.
I-
You know, because, you know, the issue, and please understand, I'm taking this from a township's
Oh, yeah, man.
perspective.
absolutely.
I'm not spending my money. If
Well,
it
you
was
have
my money,
taxpayer money that
you know.
you're, and I appreciate that.
somewhere between spending $100, in which case if it were only $100, I'd say, you know, forget the township, I'll pay for it. And, you know, it's gonna cost $1 million. Well, that's not wise use of taxpayer money. Somewhere in between that absurd range is what it's really gonna cost. And as far as efficacy, the one report that I found that the USDA and the National Forest Service recommend is a review of oak wilt management, a summary of treatment options and their efficacy. It's a slightly old study, goes back to 2010, but I think since this issue has been around since 1944, we pretty much know how to treat it.
Sure.
And just to read from it, this review continues to support the USDA Forest Service recommendation that an effective oak wilt management program should address underground and overland spread of C. vagafersum, versarum,
Yeah, that's the.
close
You
pronunciation.
did well.
No single management tactic is capable of protecting susceptible oaks, primarily red oaks, from both overland and underground spread in a consistent and effective manner. And, you know, I have a copy of the report, anybody who wants it. And the one chart that they have for deciduous red oaks, trenching is definitely helpful for underground, you know, root barriers, and then a combination of the removal and then preventive fungicide and therapeutic fungicide, two different reasons for treatments,
Right.
all of which are only, they judge, a little over 50% effective. Now that's doing everything, and one of the things that I understand, or at least from the last meeting, you're promoting the root cutting, which obviously is a necessary thing. Are you also suggesting the fungicide treatments?
So, great question. When I met with Peggy, she had mentioned that the other contractor you're talking to wasn't doing trenching and was looking to do the removals as well as the injections. The studies, which are always changing, I mean, I get restarted every 3 years and I feel like there's different data every time I redo this, you know. But we base all of this off of the Brune model. That we probably saw that in your deep dive there, Johann Brune. And I can take the measurement of me in an infected red oak, and Peggy could be alive, still a red oak, and I measure her circumference, diameter, at breast height, same with me. There's a chart, I add those two together, and it tells me how far away it could be in grafting distance. So if she's a larger circumference tree and I am too, I know it's in grafting distance. Why would I inject that Peggy and waste the taxpayers' money? What I propose doing is isolating this infection by trenching, and then as well as removals. And there may be a few collateral damage in there, but the DNR and the Park Service does it this way for the greater good of your entire 40 acres. That's how we think about it. On residential properties, yeah, I inject trees, you know, preventative type of measures. It's not necessarily, you know, there was like an infection next to Rose's house, and I'm right next door, like, sure, it's a good defense measure, we'll do that. If Rose is 4 miles away and she's got an infection and I'm over here, like, I'm wasting people's time and money by injecting propiconazole, which is a fungicide that we use. Feel like I might be getting off track there, but that's
I
kind of
don't-
my reply on it.
I don't think you are. Keeping it in state, there was an MSU paper almost a year ago, October of 2023, extension of natural resource. And one of the authors was Julie Crick. I don't know if you know her or
Sounds
not.
very familiar.
But having read the article, I question the efficacy of all this. Certainly some seem to work better than
Sure.
others, but she also noted that, using fungicides should be repeated at least in 2 years, and
Correct.
conceivably needs to be
Correct.
repeated more. And since I still had questions, I tracked her down and actually spoke with her.
Oh, good.
And had a bunch of questions, and she actually answered some of them, and then connected me with Simeon Wright.
Oh, yeah, sure. We just talked about, Brandon and I just recertified October 3rd and 4th, and he was one of our speakers.
Well,
Yeah.
for those of you that don't know, he's the Michigan State's forest health pathologist, and the one that actually teaches the Michigan's oak wilt
Yep.
qualifications course. And I had a fairly lengthy conversation with him. Finally was able to connect with him today. Before doing any treatment, and these are just notes from suggestions that he had, not knowing how far along we were or weren't. Before doing any treatment, confirm oak wilt with evidence of fungal mats and or lab reports. There are numerous diseases that are often mistaken for oak wilt and can and should be treated differently.
Sure.
So we've confirmed, in fact, that it is oak wilt.
I was told that it was confirmed when I spoke with Peggy. I thought it was the last arborist that
Kelly
confirmed.
Johnson,
She'd take a
she
test?
verbally confirmed it, but she did not take a test. no.
Okay.
That-
So,
And that was 2 years ago.
Okay.
When she first came to the forest and we had some dead oak trees and she was tracking where it looked like the infection was heading, so.
Well, that kind of leads into Simeon's next comment that oak wilt spreads fairly slowly,
Yeah.
taking time to develop a plan. And he said root cutting, fungicide, and education is better than rushing into action. I wasn't aware that we had a problem until, Monday of last week.
She did, yeah.
And he said possibly clear cutting and replanting with red pines is best. Again, he said, I don't know how concentrated, how widespread this is. And I know there's the look for oak wilt. There's a website that actually quasi tracks this. And he said, don't take it as gospel because not everything is reported and not everything that's been treated has been reported. And apparently our location has been reported. I don't know if you did that or.
She probably did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is helpful. You said it makes sense to get a better handle on oak wilt in the vicinity as potential of reinfection might be too high to do root cutting, possibly clear cutting and planting with red pines is best. And one of the concerns that I have, besides the efficacy, is we have one neighbor to the west and north. It's the state, which they have red oaks on their property as well. We have a private neighbor to the east, the entire length of our park property that has red oaks. And then we've got, I think, 5 or 6 neighbors to the south, varying property sizes, which quite honestly I haven't checked. But how do we work with them? Yes, we're preventing our oak wilt spread. How do we work with the neighbors in conjunction? Will they be willing to spend the money that's necessary and so forth? One of the things that he did put my mind at ease about was, I was thinking that, with the warm weather that we have, maybe it's still too warm to try to do anything right now. And he said, no, it's not a problem. Apparently there was an MSU study a few years back where they purposely infected a number of red oaks. And those from, mid-October to November, even though, it was still within the window, weren't infected. But he said, definitely, don't do anything mid-April to mid-July. There it shouldn't be done. You just actually touched on the formula for, how far away trenching should be done, which is good. Simeon also provided, not only connection to the oat wilt viewer, but, do you know, Andy Halfresh, I think is how you pronounce his last name?
I do not.
He's a DNR Forest Health, forester, with the best, and this is, Simeon's saying this, the best local oak wilt knowledge on the state, and forest lands in the area. I have not heard back from him yet, tried to contact him, and apparently there are some things that the state is willing to do if we work with them, which is good news. And then, there's the State Forestry Assistance Program forester for Benzie County, Ellie Johnson, who is off today, so I wasn't able to speak with her.
There used to be grants, Jim, I want to say up to 2018 that would even give homeowners, I'm not sure about necessarily townships or counties or anything like that, but they would give grants to help mitigate these issues. But from my knowledge, at least residentially speaking, it stopped at the end of 2018. So I'm not sure about what happens with that. It would be new to me, and I could investigate that.
Well, I think we should look into it. My only concern is that, you may have known about, I don't know how long you've been working on.
Wednesday, I found out. I was called by Peggy on Wednesday, and I met with her in regards to your flare, or your
A week
infection.
ago Wednesday, or just this past Wednesday?
This past Wednesday, so tomorrow's Wednesday, but like Wednesday last week. Oh,
No,
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago,
2 weeks
because
ago.
it was before the last Monday's meeting.
Oh, okay. Sure, my apologies, yeah, so it's been a flash of a blink of an eye is when I found out about it.
Because I mean, it does move slowly, and that's what's been happening with this, with our property.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the oak book has come in off of Lamb Road, on the east side of the Lamb Road, right along the driveway.
Okay.
Okay, so the trees to the right of the driveway, the new driveway that we just put in, were affected, and there were dead oak trees that were really dead, really, really dead, obviously have been dead for several years. We cut those down, we used them for firewood. That was 2 years ago. Okay. So Ellie said, and I had her come and look, and she said, the trees right next to those trees are the ones you have to watch out for. So, she put us on board to kind of pay attention to what was going on with those trees. But they were moving, it was moving like straight west. It wasn't moving to the south. I checked around, you can see where all the trails are there. I don't see any signs of oak wilt death in the rest of the park, just in this one corner. I did see, Matt, 5 more trees to mark for removal.
Okay.
Right along the northern property line, so I marked them, I put tape on them,
Mm-hmm.
and they're big ones too.
Yeah, I saw that monster.
Yeah.
I just was, we met briefly, Peggy, and
Yeah,
I
that's
just was
just-
going off of what I saw.
Yeah,
and,
that was a heartbreaking monster to see.
Try to figure it out.
But, so there are some more than, besides what's on that estimate that should come down.
So these are all along the edge of the state land that we already have them.
Yeah,
So
and
what stops them from flying? I mean, if they're right next door,
Well,
I mean,
they're
they don't
not-
know the property line, the bugs to fly across. I mean, that's my concern. If we just trench, they can still,
There's
how
over,
far, right?
They're not that,
there's over,
where he's
sorry,
putting
go
the trench, it's below the property line, far enough, and I looked at
But the trees are along the property
I looked
line
at-
and the state.
There aren't that many, other than these 5 that I just marked, which should come down. They're still healthy right now.
So that's 5
Not
more
all
than
of them.
this bid is for.
Some of them are dead, some of them are not quite dead, but they probably all should come down. But beyond that, there's not as many oak trees up past them as you would.
How many oak
See,
trees are
elsewhere.
throughout the whole property? Do
Oh,
you know how
I
many?
have no idea, Teresa.
It's mostly
I
oak
have no
trees.
idea.
The
A lot.
property itself is mostly red oak and white pine. Jack pine and some of this alien poplar, the silver poplar. That's what most of the property really is oak. And
I would
it's
say the
mostly-
majority species
Yeah,
is
it's
red oak.
majority
red oak.
species and they're mostly red oak and they're big and beautiful.
But they're all dying.
Huh? They're
But
not
they're
all
all-
dying. There's a buffer zone between the ones that are dead now and the ones that are still alive. There's a place, actually when they excavated the driveway, they kind of cleared a piece there.
So you're trying to, I see where you're going with this. The management practice is trying to contain this infection underground, overground. Like I said, the picnic beetle could have this on here. A wound has to occur. So whether it's Johnny Johnson cutting trees in the middle of summer, this beetle, all it is doing is smelling sugars and carbohydrates. It just happens to have this fungal pathogen on its back. And that's how this overlaying kind of starts, right? Could it be an act of God and we got to hit a streak of lightning and it blew up a tree? And yeah, outside the trench line, yeah, it can happen. And that's the thing with Oakwood is you just have to be alert, know when things are happening to contain things. But the trenching is your best management tool for this particular section. You know, if the chair's seat is the area for, let's say, we're trying to just isolate this. You guys are correct, it does move slowly, anywhere between 39 to 45 feet per year. Doesn't mean it can go straight out towards Jim. It could go bang, 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 bang. So it doesn't mean it's going directly like that. But we know that it moves 39 to 45 feet per year.
And from this look for Oakville map, it looks like there's been a number of, have you done these treatments around Turtle Lake?
We've done a lot of work over there, Jim. I'm not sure. I didn't personally enter any data points. And just so you know, the data points are confirmed as well. When they send them in, somebody has to, forget the name of the woman, but she has to look at the report to confirm. You have to show her, before you can just put a pin up here, you have to show her the confirmation that this is like legit.
Well, and it's been tested.
While I have some concern about how quickly we're moving into this,
Yeah,
I also have some concern about the cost of doing it,
sure.
given the efficacy. I also, mean, in for a penny, in for a pound. If we're going to be doing, and there's no doubt that when there's clear evidence, which has actually been hard this last week because all the leaves have turned. So are those leaves wilting or is the tree turning? You know, it's hard to tell.
It is. And a sample, which I guess I'll take blame since I got called in Wednesday, should have been done to confirm this before you do anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, but my point is, if we're going to do the trenching,
Mm-hmm.
the fungicide is both for preventive and therapeutic reasons.
Correct.
You know, that's another.
So
let's just say 5,000, which should be repeated in 2 years. So it's 10,000.
it's going to be more than that. I can assure you. So it's $15 per inch. So if you have a, 15 inch diameter trunk, it's $300.
Diameter.
Yeah, I base it off the diameter. That's what our company does, and we base it on $15 per diameter inch, if you will. The thing I go with this, and I'm looking out for the township, is that's a lot of trees and a lot of money. And I'm not sure if that's really the best thing. Maybe if you wanted to, you could do just outside your perimeter of your trenching, but to sit here and try to protect all these trees on your 40 acres, I think is crazy. And the efficacy, which I know, the fungostat injections, yes, they're preventative. They don't get a lot of thumbs up from different places. That information and data is not, I don't know.
Well,
the jury's still out maybe on that.
That's one of the problems that
Correct.
Simeon pointed to, that there's, they can deal with what's been reported. Is
Yeah.
it reported accurately, and just.
Correct.
So there's.
And like I was saying, man, I've had this qualification since 2019, so I've recerted twice. The data's changed each time I've gone through this. It's just constantly evolving because it's just, for whatever reason, yeah, we knew about it in the mid to late 40s, but not a lot's been going on there until more recently, if you will, as far as research, I guess.
One of the other things I read about, again, apology for being a nerd about this, is trenching is one thing, but there's also talk about putting permeable or unpermeable barrier in down to 5 feet. Have you ever,
Do you have anything to say on that? Mark?
We did talk about that a little bit. They'd say that, it has potential to regraft, within 5 years. So if you cut those roots.
Correct, right.
Isolate, 5 years from now, those roots have potential to grow back together. And that's where the barrier would come in. If you had a barrier put down into the trench, prevents the roots from ever grafting back.
well, that's exactly the point of my question, because if I'm following what you just said, after you do this 5 years from now, roots could grow back and
Yeah.
reach an infected tree. What's the cost? And
Yeah, it's,
from what I've read, the putting in a barrier raises the efficacy to close to certainty. And surprisingly, there's impermeable, which is like a sheet of plastic, and then there's the permeable, which is like landscape cloth.
yeah, porous kind of.
The porous stuff is more effective.
But if you
Yeah,
remove
I
the
would have
roots,
guessed the other way.
if you kill that stump, if you kill those trees you cut down, those roots are gonna die, aren't they, if you've done
Ultimately,
those?
yes.
So they can't really
But-
regraft.
Well, they kind of, it's weird, it's a great question. When we have trees flare up sometimes in the summertime, and we know we can't remove them, because if, like I said, if you cut it low stump, that pathogen can shoot out. We will girdle with a chainsaw around the diameter and put herbicide on it to just kill this tree.
Mhm.
It's already gonna die, so
Right.
just kill it and try to be done with it. In regards to these barriers, I don't have much to say on it right now because I need to do more due diligence on it. I don't want to tell you that it's good, it's bad. I don't want to say anything. I know that my company, I've been with Parcels for 6 years. I've been in the industry for 18, and I have yet to put in a barrier. With that said, when you're dealing with anything, whether it's, and I know you guys know this, infections in humans or whatever, for the doctor to say, this is 100% guaranteed, you got no problem, you can't really do that, right? So it would be unethical for me to tell you that. There's always a chance that things can kind of.
And what do you recommend redoing the barrier or the
Yeah.
digging?
Yeah.
Because I read somewhere that they recommended 2 years for doing the
Trenching again.
trenching.
Oh, I wouldn't think so on that. I mean, I said, like, what did it say, 3 to 5 years could be right. So I think 2 years would be premature. I don't know, do you have anything to?
We talked about sometimes you can do a second trench.
Good point.
Which actually, almost isolates a
Correct.
section of the root.
Good thought, Brandon. I forgot
It
about that.
eliminates.
The DNR was
possibility.
doing that. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, the DNR was doing that, doing like a double lap around, a do-si-do to come around. And whether it's like, I'm the trench line here, maybe they just come back through and follow that same trench line, but they're over here. And that's even more efficacy that way, because you're getting a double.
In case you hit a rock or something else underneath
Well,
it.
you'd be surprised, this blade is like, it's not a sharp blade. The DNR actually fabricated 5 of them throughout, I don't know if Simeon told you about that. So we work with them, and we work with Ditch Witch, and it's like a program that helps the Michigan Oak Willow Coalition. It's a lot of information, and even like a true nerd like myself, I get overwhelmed with it. I mean, it's a lot to process, To come back to it feels very quick. I hear you loud and clear. I found out Wednesday, and that's why, and I should never do this. I'll slap myself. I assumed that a sample was taken. When you said Ellie for it, conservation dish, because that would have been, if I would have saw it in June, first thing I would have done, taken a sample. You have to. You can't just be like, oh, I've seen that 1,000 times.
Well,
I could be wasting your money.
It's not her fault. She offered to do that 2 years ago, and
Oh, okay.
I didn't take.
I'm pretty sure it's free for her to do it.
Yeah, I didn't. She said.
So private.
She said if those
Okay.
trees next to it start to show infection, she'll come back and take a sample.
You
Well,
should-
they didn't start to show until this year.
I know Ellie, and she's great, and she's awesome. I want to say it is free from them. Private company like ourselves, for me to get an aerial lift, have someone come over there, FedEx it overnight, $50 to MSU to get the report to share. I'm at $375 to take the sample,
Yeah, she would
and
do
get
it.
the results.
Yeah.
So,
I have a question about your
please.
second trenching. Would you do the second trenching at the same time you did the first one?
yes,
Okay.
yes. Yeah, that's a good question. Yes.
But it
And-
still would be more cost, correct? It'd
It would be more
cost
cost,
because
but it
it's more
wouldn't, I can
time.
assure you
Yeah.
it wouldn't be doubled,
Right, okay.
you know. I really appreciate you, my colleague Brandon bringing that.
I do think that cost would be probably less than whatever.
Considerably less.
The barrier, trying to get a barrier 5
Right.
feet down into the
I would
ground
imagine.
for hundreds of stretch of land.
Right.
Because we're already making our pathway for this machine. We need 8 feet wide by 10 feet tall for this machine to come through. So it's really not a big deal. Really. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Who marks the trees and the different ribbons? I walked for the park the other day, and, you know, some were green with some numbers on it, some were red.
The green ones are from this other arborist that I consulted with.
A&L.
He put the green ones on. Those are the trees that he would not say if he was an injunction.
Arbor Tech.
Okay, so he marked these in those yellow green. The orange tape are the trees that I marked that are dead. Or about to be dead.
And I probably added maybe 3 to 4 more
Yeah,
that I
and
saw
just
right
added
there.
5 more the other day, so, yeah.
And those are the ones that you want to isolate with the trench
And we would want to get rid of them.
and
They would-
so isolate plus remove.
And also to keep in mind too, depending on what Peggy's talking about, as far as those new 5, I measure, you know, it's everything's based on this brood number, right? So it's like, I'm gonna measure this trunk and I'm gonna look at the next ones around, and now I may be on state property, or now I may be on Mr. Johnson's property. Things constantly change with this oak wilt. If I saw you guys in June, let's say, and we're on board, we know this infection can flare up quickly, right? Particularly with trees that are close by to each other. Clusters, thank you, Jim. We now, as a company, only do the trenching, the flags for the trenching, in the later fall, right before, you know? We call mist dig first, that type of thing. Because I could see in June or July, and I have my trench line flagged out, I'm like, all right, cool, man. But then a utilities here or new flare-ups over here, and so I'm constantly manipulating, changing this thing. So I appreciate bringing up these 5, but
Yeah, I
things are
want to
gonna
say something
change.
about the trench that you have going
Please.
out there.
Yeah, please.
Because that whole, as far as the parts that I marked off, that was looking with trenching around, the eastern half of that, there's no oak trees at all anymore.
On the left side of the driveway, when you're going in?
Side of the driveway, except for the ones that are going up the hill, the ones that you told me to look at. The 5 that I marked
Okay.
are on the north side of that section, okay? So they
Yeah.
are closer to the property line.
Okay,
But there's nothing to the east. Those trees are all gone.
I get it.
Or they're-
I would just confirm it, you know,
or
just
they're
check
narrow.
my
So I was
path.
wondering why we would need to trench down the road.
I was just trying, because I'm trying to get a full circuit. You always want to try to close it. If I just did a line here and a line here, it does nothing for you.
Yeah.
This pathogen can move. So I'm trying to do a closed circuit. That's a great question. So I was just trying to do a lap around to come around to get it isolated on an island.
But there's no, on the east side of that piece, there aren't any trees.
I would love to walk everybody out there at some, if you'd like to see, the methodology.
I think that would be a great thing,
And-
and actually, it's one of the things that Julie Crick said, we should at least walk the plan before we make any decisions.
Absolutely, Jim. And in all honesty, as I'm thinking about this and as a certified arborist and, you know, qualified oak wilt individual, I would think it would be unethical not to confirm this before we start spending the taxpayers' money. And that's how I dig it. That's how I look at it.
I appreciate that.
Thank
It's
you.
the truth.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
Find some mycelium.
Yeah, we could maybe, see, we could do that too. So another way besides taking a sample and sending it to a pathologist is to underneath the bark layer or outer cortex layer, you may see what they call a pressure pad where the bark is kind of raised up a bit. We could take a hatchet and we're looking for these mycelial mats. That is also confirmation.
So those of you would want to look at the trees that just got infected recently, right? That would be the best place to look for them?
It's actually on the following year, after a
Right,
1 year
so,
inspection.
The ones that probably got hit last year.
Yeah.
They died over the winter, you know.
Probably be
Those
the
will probably be a
ones,
good
yeah.
contestant. Ones that went this year, Peggy, they wouldn't have mycelial
Now,
mats
these
yet.
are the ones that died over the winter. I noticed them
Yeah.
in the summer down.
Definitely a little hasty in this whole game, you know, not gonna lie. I want to assist. I mean, that's what I do. I know I can assist, but I think at the ease of everybody, you know, we could go through, you know, make sure we hit every step and we go through it and even suggest meeting with the board and, you know, after I can do my due diligence and Brandon can help me out, then we can go back out and be like, okay, this is it. With that said, you know, we're kind of missing our window here, right, for 2024. It is what it is.
Mhm.
Everything's going to change in 2025. We're going to see tree, and I don't want to jinx us here, but you're probably going to see more casualties. I mean, that's just what it is. And we just I changed things up.
I know we're seeing them over at the Inland Park.
Yeah, we looked at
Oh yeah,
that,
right here, Ross.
So,
Yeah.
but
Well, it's
Changes
so
every
close
year.
to some of the most beautiful trees right there by the parking lot.
There's some majestic oaks out there. I mean, like glorious. I mean, I see trees all day, every day, man. And there's some nice trees just in that parking.
And that's what makes me feel a little anxious about.
Sure, I get it. I wish I talked to you earlier.
I understand the urgency, but if we were aware of this 2 years ago, you know, I'm feeling very rushed to make a decision that I only found out a problem with, you know, 8 days ago. If this has been developing, we had an opportunity to get ahead of it a little bit more than we had.
There have been
But
a few
they-
reports on,
Pardon?
there have been a few reports on the potential for oak growth there in the
Well,
last 3 years.
potential isn't
Yeah,
confirmation,
Yeah, to the.
you know. But part of the whole, as I understand it, the whole treatment package is not to just us do it and very quietly go away. We need to tell our neighbors, you know, I have started the process of reaching out to the state for their 600 and whatever acres that surround us on two sides, and maybe they'll help. But I would think that, and, you know, this is just me talking, not the whole board, you know, I think it would be great, you know, over the winter, in the spring, whenever, to have you guys come in and give a program to inland and surrounding communities. You know.
I would love to do that. I've done it for the Elmira Township twice.
Well, we'd love to have you, and hopefully you'd gain a lot of,
I would
personal
love that.
business out of that as well.
I appreciate you bringing that up, Jim, because a lot of this is just education and spreading the word, and it can go a long way just from that, you know, I mean, as far as management or control, you know, right? Don't ruin your trees or the da-da-da, you know, it's just.
I don't think anybody likes to see trees that otherwise wouldn't need to come down, but,
Sure.
You know, it's a balance again between $1 million and 100, and do we save a few trees or do we sacrifice a few more to save the rest of them? And it's not just our little 40 acres. You know, we've got,
Sure.
you know, what if we don't do it right as a township? And I forget the guy's name that has a property to the east, says, well, you didn't do it properly and your trees infected my trees. Well, you know, I'm not a lawyer, don't play one on TV, you know, just,
49 North Road, that residence there, is that what you're talking about? The residence when you pull in on that street right there? I saw one residence there.
well, there's one residence just to the east and then there are a bunch to the south.
My experience as a certified arborist going to speak to people about oak wilt can be very hit or miss. Some people are very receptive. Some people are like, no, I'm not dealing with it, and you'd be
Cut it down,
surprised.
who cares?
And they're like, you know what you're talking about? All I could do is try to say hello, and here it is, man.
Well,
So it's
Wilkinson's
hit
have
and
it on
miss.
their property. The Wilkinson's.
They're on the west side, right?
They're on the east side,
Or they're on the east.
and they're just around the corner from the
Yeah.
park, and Becca said that it's going through their property now, and they work for the township.
And are they treating theirs?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Right, so
Which would make the.
us more susceptible.
The fungicide
Quickly,
treatments
yeah.
So
more,
that's a great
Yeah,
example.
I don't
too,
think they're right
Teresa,
next
of-
to us, I think they're one house east of the one that you probably.
Yeah.
I always recommend injections like that. That's what I was saying before, like if Rose was like next door or like
Right,
a block away, I'm like, yeah, man, that's a good candidate, for injections. 5 miles away, I think monitor. You know, it can get costly.
so if you trench an area and there's some trees right outside of that area, some oaks, and I don't know, I mean, I walked the park the other day too, but I
Sure.
don't remember exactly where the oaks were. Would you want to treat those ones just around that to be preventive, so that if there is anything left there, you know what I mean, will it help that
You very
tree
well could. I
survive?
mean, it's preventative, they're not curative, so it can
Right.
for sure. What I would recommend though with 40 acres of oak trees is if there's some candidates like, you know, General John, that's this majestic 200-year-old thing, you know, sure, General John's a good candidate, man. If they're like little dudes that are like this, you know, it's collateral damage, and I don't mean to
Right.
say it like that, I speak for the trees, but it's, you know, it's,
I mean, they're
it
not
gets
gonna grow
costly
anyway.
quickly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
With
there's
no
about
sun.
4 or 5 right around the parking lot, you know.
Oh, yeah, there were some
Those
gorgeous ones.
4 or 5 I would love to inject.
Sure.
Because
I saw that too.
that's, you know, that's where our picnic tables are, and after going to the, and they're beautiful. And they're, you know, and then on the other side of them is all this poplar stuff. So there's a break in the oak trees before it goes up the ridge. But those 4 or 5 that are right there are really, I would love to take anyone who wants to go on a tour of the park as I know it. Travel some of our new trails.
Well, I think what we need to do is get a hold of Ellie, get it actually tested and confirmed.
Okay.
And then work with Matt, have him get out there, look at what he's looking at, more of a, I guess, 2025 plan. And then, I don't, can we have a special meeting out? Or, I don't, somehow we can all go out there and review the plan and go from there,
So
but
do we take the dead trees down this year?
How many dead trees are there?
5,
Uh,
but she's got marked here along the.
I've got 5 new ones.
Those
I've
are
got
dead.
23,
Oh,
She's got-
and then additional 5 that type, so there's 28.
that are dead.
Yeah,
They died
Yeah.
of the
I think maybe 2 or 3 of them were like symptomatic, you know, but the other ones were like done.
Yeah.
It's,
Would it hurt?
I wasn't in-
Well, I was gonna say, would it hurt to leave them? I mean, what's the danger of leaving them?
you leave the mycelium mats, which can become other flare-ups. And so now you're getting into this whole, well, not only underground, but now you have overground. And it's interesting, when we were talking about these mycelium mats, we chop it off, blah, blah, blah. And the class literally had us smelling this, and you could smell almost like wine or fermenting fruit. It's very sweet, and it attracts these beetles. And so you're kind of just rolling the dice a little, you know, but
So how long will they stay on a dead tree though, the
This-
bugs,
the bugs are.
or the
in and out.
parasite, whatever it is?
The mycelium mats are 3 to 5 years, is that they can stay viable?
On a dead tree?
Yeah.
Simeon, unless I heard him very wrong, he said, you know, a tree that's been dead for a year really isn't an issue.
Well,
So,
I think maybe it's misheard because the mycelium mats don't even form until a year. I think if it's like 3, 4 years, I'm with you, Jim. It's like, okay, it is what it is. You just leave. I mean, I see that a lot on properties.
If you moving them, does that just, you know, are they gonna fall off? And then,
So-
affect other ones, to whatever location you take them, you know?
I've never
Like
seen
the
it.
Emerald dashboard, they were like,
Yeah.
you can't lose the wood.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, because yeah, that is, with like borers or insects, that can be the vector, like John is bringing the firewood to up north to the campsite or something, you know. I've never heard of that in the research, I've never, I don't have anything really, it's a good question, but I've never heard of that, that's why we also do it in the dormancy period.
Right.
And that mycelium mat's like underneath this bark, it's in like a capsule, unless I break it open, you know, I mean, it's encapsulated, like it's under the tree's tissue, you know, outer tissue, I should say.
Then that wood can be used for firewood?
So yeah, if you burn that, it's recommended that you burn it or char that outer layer and
It kills the
kill
spores.
the mat or the spores, yeah. And then you can use it.
Yeah, the trees we took down 2 years ago, we burned it, that was our winter firewood,
Okay,
but they were really dead.
okay, yeah.
I mean, they obviously, the bark was off. most of it.
Yeah, so it starts sloughing off like that.
Yeah,
like,
they had been really
it's
dead.
been a hot
And,
minute.
you know, we burned it and we split the wood right next to the only beautiful oak tree that's on my property. And it's still healthy, so.
For whatever reason, you can't get a hold of Dolly, or, I know if you get busy, Brandon and I can go look for some mycelial mats to confirm it and take pictures of it if you want, if we see them, as well.
Yeah, we'll call Ellie. And
If
then
I need to
get-
bring a crew over to do it or grab a sample from up here or whatnot, then that's where the cost incurs.
Mm.
But I would go split over there looking for mycelial mats. I mean, I would just do it.
You want me to call her?
Yeah, you can.
I can.
Yeah.
So I'm a little confused. The 28 dead trees, would you suggest that we cut those down now? Or wait?
In the winter.
Until,
In the
well, yeah,
winter
winter.
time, it's a great question, and I'm very prone to say, yes, I recommend this, because I'm trying to get the infection that's above up here just off the site, you know, and it would be more manageable. They're gonna have to go either way, you know, so whether you did it now, or I guess if you did it 2025,
No.
you know what I mean? But I wouldn't just leave them standing with all of those other, oaks in the vicinity.
Those 5 you marked, they are dead.
Most of it, yeah.
That one's a monster, man. That one that's like
That,
5
the
liters.
multi-stem one, oh,
It's
no,
huge.
that's definitely totally dead. There was a couple that were.
And if the board, sees that they would like to see that, I can go and get the data on those other 5 and revise it and just send it
Yeah.
for the removal. If I,
Yeah.
may I do that? for you
Yeah,
guys?
I would think a removal quote that we
Yeah.
can just
And
review
we'll
it.
and I'll retract the trenching for now. Highly recommend we take a sample and look for mycelium mats or both.
Mhm.
You know, I might even just go over there anyway, cause I'm intrigued by it, you know, and I'll probably go looking for some mats anyway.
What's our window on the trenching for this year?
We're doing it Friday in Traverse City, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in Grand Rapids area. And that's the window, at least for us.
Okay, so we couldn't get it done this year anyway?
Oh, no, I was prepared to do it for you.
Oh.
Yeah, we just needed authorization. I would have jumped you on the game for Friday. We would have gotten it done. It's here in Traverse City. We're bringing it up.
Yeah.
We're doing it over at Hickory Hills there, the city of Traverse City's ski hill over there. We got an infection over there that we're isolated.
It was brought up at the last meeting, the trenching, you know, how deep, do you have to put barriers, markers?
Yeah, it's a good question. So again, as far as the barriers go, I've never put in a barrier.
I mean, for people falling in.
Oh, great question. Yeah, great question. So it's 5 feet long and it's about yay wide.
So if somebody walks through there, they could potentially break a leg.
So if may I just pull up a video on our
Yeah.
social
Yeah.
media real quick?
Yeah.
Because it might get a better understanding of it.
Well, our fire chief said we would have to put a fence all the way around it.
You know,
Okay,
Not near any of the trails.
okay.
Not near-
Yeah.
But people still walk
It's a
the
liability.
Right, but
Yeah.
it's kind of a self-filling as it trenches through.
Yeah.
It kind of fills itself back. And it'd be soft ground there for a
Correct.
couple months,
And
but it
Dave,
wouldn't be a hole.
you know what, David, like when I've seen like a winter of snow or rain, like I'll go back to visit clients' properties I did it on, I don't know where it
You can't-
was.
I can't do
It's pretty mellow.
It's basically like drawing a knife through a cake.
Mhm.
Did you see, you saying it? Could you mind, may I pull it up? for
Yeah.
you?
Sure.
It's like those ditch witches.
Yeah.
That they use them for the cables and stuff.
Mhm.
I wish I had like a broadcaster or something, but I'm gonna just kind of. So that's just a picture of it, of the width of it. I mean, it's not like a size of like the
Table.
table, and people are,
Yeah.
oh my God, falling in or anything like that. I'll walk this around here too.
Yeah, I showed it to you, Dave.
Table, yeah.
So it's pretty, it's not very invasive, you know. I think there's other outfits that do like a mini excavator, and maybe that kind of stuff would be,
Yeah.
Thank you.
it's not that crazy. I got another, just the blade looks like for you. That's a little clip.
Oh, dude.
5 feet. Anyways, it's a blade that's, I stand up straight, I'm 6'4", but,
Just a picture of it.
I would assume it would look like one that was like, hey.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're just cutting.
Yeah, right.
It's like that
Oh,
right there.
Thank you, Rose, thank you.
Do you have to rent the machine from the state, or you have to like
I
sign up
rent the
for its
machine
use?
from Ditch Witch, is what we do.
So you could rent it at another time if necessary.
If necessary, but
There's
they
a cost
recommend
to
doing
pay.
it in the dormancy period because of that. It's a great question. Because of that 8-foot swath, 10-foot high, I could be mechanically bumping into other oaks and making wounds and making it even worse.
Right.
So that's why it's like late fall.
Not
I had that question when I first started learning about this. Like, how can I just do it now?
Right,
So they
right,
just take that extra precaution, I guess. Is what it is.
No, I know what you do. We get late, fall.
If we get late fall.
It's been nice weather lately.
We already had fall.
Does that seem like the
So,
plan?
yeah, I think-
You guys would get a hold of
Yeah.
Rose, of,
Yeah,
Ellie.
Ellie.
Yep, and then if you
Yeah.
decide to go out there, you can
I'm
let us
gonna
know
go
you
out
find.
there. I'm just gonna put it on my schedule.
All
I'll
right.
go there by the end of the week.
And
It's, I
then,
don't wanna say it's fun for me, but
Right.
tree nerd, it's kind of fun, So I'll go do it.
To help me pay for around the biggest one, because I couldn't reach it out.
It's big.
It's so big, so I
Yeah.
had someone with me doing it.
But we can do that and then just let me know for whatever, I'm sure you'll get a hold of her.
I'm gonna email her tonight, okay?
Okay.
All right, is there any more questions from Matt
Did I
then?
answer anything else anybody may have, or, I know it's a lot of information. I appreciate you guys listening to me, ramble on here for a while, but,
Well, thank you
No,
for
it-
coming.
Yeah, no, it was good for us, because that was, all of us were kind of like,
it's
I
very.
don't know what that is.
Thank you.
So this crazy sap beetle, is it basically the same size as a ladybug?
Similar, yeah, I mean, maybe even
Little
smaller,
smaller.
actually, it's even smaller, it's a little dude. It's those guys when you're at a campground having a glass of wine, it gets in your glass, it's like one of those little baby ones like that.
Luckily, I don't drink wine.
Well, there you go, having juice, or apple juice.
Yeah.
So if we have the
It's tiny.
issue at Lamb Road, and you're saying we also have the issue at Lake Ann Park?
Yeah, well, that park, it's coming from the property behind it,
Yeah.
and there's really nothing we can do other than just keep removing them and replant as they die, because anything that we were to trench out there would
It's not
still
gonna
just,
matter.
It didn't make sense.
yeah,
I met Dave, it didn't make sense, because if I'm that line where this infection's at, I don't know if it was ball field or what was there, but it's just a
Mhm.
wide open field still
Yeah.
there, and it's like,
There's a ball field.
I mean, there's some other oaks, I guess, that could get infected, but as far as the cost of the taxpayers,
That's something they.
I don't see that as a imminent threat like I do the cinder and lamb situation.
One of the things that I don't want to have fall through the cracks is keep in touch with us. I think,
Of course.
particularly over the winter, it would be great to put on
I would
Seminar.
love to do that. I mean, I would, whatever is really best for you, I can follow up with, Dave and Rose, and whatever's best for you or the public who would want to meet, like, we could put together a presentation, and Brandon and I would come over and
That'd
talk.
be great.
I'd love to do that. That would be awesome.
Because
The Elmira Township has that little thing at the Red Door Coffee Shop. They meet like once a month or whatnot, and I've spoken there a couple different, very casually, you know. I only got like a 5-10 minute window to speak. but
we'll get you hooked up with our overhead.
That'd be cool.
and all-
That'd be
all
great.
sorts of
That'd be awesome. I would appreciate that.
Because I think, just us taking care of our problem doesn't take care of the problem.
Correct. And again, it's just finding people who maybe are as passionate or concerned about it, and we can offer information and we can educate. But sometimes they are into it and sometimes they're not. But at least we've done our due diligence.
Can lead a horse to water.
Right? That's what it is.
Well, we're lucky that it's isolated on just one corner.
Mhm.
It is a very small area.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't found it anywhere else. When I walked around.
Have you gone into state land?
Oh, yeah, the Merritt Road, yeah, Merrill Road, our park runs, Merrill Road runs through our park.
Right.
One of our trails goes right up on the ridge there, overlooking Merritt Road. So it's very close to the property. Yeah. On the north and on the west side.
All right, so we're all good with the plan then? Go with that?
Why don't you restate what the plan is?
Getting a hold of Ellie, getting a test, he's gonna go out and look, and then come back to us with a quote for removal of what he thinks should come out this year, and then, work with them as a board to develop a plan going forward, assuming that it does come back as oak wilt, which
Okay.
So does that mean that you're going to approve removing the trees this year, though, that are dead?
We're gonna find out what it is.
Well,
That's what we got.
Well, not necessarily, well,
yeah,
gotta see
we
the
gotta get a quote
and
and,
then.
yeah.
And I can get that back to you guys. I can tell you right now when I'm gonna go back out here. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Friday afternoon, so you're gonna hear from me by early next week in regards to if I could find my celial mats, but also the revision of the proposal for the removal.
Super.
So can I go with you, because I want to see what a ceiling mat looks like.
Sure, hopefully we can find one. Sometimes you can find them, sometimes you can't, but when
Take pictures.
I would go ahead and take that, absolutely, Jim, I can do that for sure, and I can email those photos to Dave and Rose, at least if everybody will be able to check them
I'll
out.
just distribute them in there.
Super.
So,
I really appreciate you guys' time and listening to me.
And ours is yours.
Yep.
Thank
We
you,
like it too.
thank you.
Alright.
Appreciate
I will reopen public comment at 6:58.
Thank you very much.
it. I appreciate it, guys,
Yeah,
thank you.
thank
I
you.
will
for
close
your time.
public comment
It was a
and
pleasure.
entertain a motion to adjourn.
No public comment?
I will second. All in favor?
No, she had her, she.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Oh,
she
sorry.
keeps on letting him leave. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Right. So I wasn't here last meeting,
Mhm.
but I had the opportunity to watch it. Had a couple of questions, comments, whatever. Public comment is for everyone. Doesn't have to be in our township, which is great. But my question is, who runs the meetings? Because the first lady that spoke was given her time to do public comment. When Bill started speaking, Rose went to Dave and told Dave to shut him down. It's clear on the recordings. He was not given his 3 minutes to speak without this other person interrupting and Rose telling Dave to shut him down. So who runs the meetings?
I mean, yes, she was interrupting him, but I feel that I gave Bill his time to talk. I don't ever time anybody's public comment.
Well,
And say-
he was told to shut down. And, because I wasn't here, but I watched it. So, to me, it's like, maybe Rose, you need to run for supervisor because Dave has clearly stated in the Record Patriot, he doesn't want the job. I'm just saying, this is, public comment is for everyone. And Also, somebody complaining about the use of the room should come from the person renting the room. If there's a complaint to be made, still can use public comment, but if there's a complaint, should be coming from the person that is renting the room. The day that I was here, I did ask, I stood in the doorway and asked for the pull wagon to be removed from the handicap spot. It was tax collection day. We have citizens coming in to pay their taxes. They have to be able to get into the building. So I don't think that was an unreasonable request to have a wagon moved from the handicap spot. I was not rude, I was not obnoxious, I was not loud, and I slammed no doors at all.
I wasn't here. I had already left.
And we are.
But I told them to remove it.
I'm just saying, I heard the comment that I was loud, obnoxious, slammed the door. None of that.
Yes,
Absolutely
I
none of
can't
that.
verify anything, so I wasn't here.
And I am also gonna say that if I'm here working in the building, this is the public building. I bring in snacks, I bring in stuff to put in the refrigerator. I'm gonna use the refrigerator. This is a public building. Are you gonna say that you're not going to allow the fire department guys to use that refrigerator? Because this is being rented for a bridal shower or a craft day or church or yoga or whatever? I think that that's wrong. This is a public building. You guys are all public servants and work. I work. I don't get paid. My choice, and my choice is because I don't trust my social security number being given to this lady. I do not, and that is the only reason I am not getting paid, because I don't trust her with my social security number. But I will still use the restroom and the refrigerator if I'm in here working. And I don't care if it's a bridal shower or whatever. This is the public building that us taxpayers pay for. We don't disrupt their meeting. I'm not saying coming in here, but I still will use the restroom and the refrigerator.
That was all on them. I had nothing. I know that, and I don't say anything about that. But that was on them. That was what they did.
I find that kind of hard.
I know you do, but I find it kind of hard to believe some of
believe
the things that
he came
you
up
and
with
her,
all of these details without having some input.
well,
So anyway, that's all I have to say.
I just want to say that I am so tired of all this stuff. I really am. All this nitpicking and back and forth and, charging into each other. This stuff's driving me crazy. And the last meeting was a horrible event as far as I'm concerned. What I wish is that we could, call a truce and stop it. But I do want to say that in my opinion, I was here sitting right in this chair, I believe, at that last meeting. I don't recall seeing Rose tell you to shut anybody down. And I thought that the group that was making the complaint was the group that's renting the room.
they are.
They are, so.
It's just my name was on the paper.
Your name's on the paper, but they're the group that's renting the room, right?
The money comes from them.
Rose is renting the room.
For them, for that group.
Mhm.
So the people from that group were here making their complaint, so. I don't know what we have to do to call a truce here, but it would be really nice. You waste so much time on this stuff. And we're not getting things done that need to be done. That's just my personal opinion.
Well, things are getting done. They're still getting done. The things that need to get done are done. And you're right. And I've done everything I possibly could to try to make a truce happen. And it's just,
But it's all my fault, irregardless, so. Just understand that.
those words never came out of my mouth, just to
No,
be clear.
but it's
But I'm not,
implied.
this is not high school and I'm not gonna have this argument here. And the meeting was atrocious. It was, absolutely was. And I am embarrassed to be a part of this board at times because of meetings like that. And it's a shame. It's an absolute shame.
Any other public comment?
Yeah, as far as the assessment with Oakville, it'd be kind of nice too if you have like a diagram of where it's at.
They have a map.
Oh, you do? Okay, I didn't know. Yeah, I went out there and looked
over the week.
Here, Bill.
I don't know if you're allowed to hunt there, but there is an active buck out there.
Well,
He's making his presence known.
But
and
just
also,
past that oak wilt is state land.
well,
Did you get an email from someone? They walked the property and so they were going to email you and ask you to read it?
I have not.
oh, I have another thing from from a person, and I'm sorry, I completely forgot to send an email today because I wasn't really supposed to be here. There is a tombstone at Stagecoach
Yes.
that somebody hit with a car, and it's been down for 3 or 4 months, and the lady
Yeah.
would like to have it replaced, and I don't know who does that.
Bob is going to be working on that now that lawns have settled down.
The oak
There's
wilt.
dogs too at the park.
I'm sorry?
It would be nice, and I really appreciate Partial coming here. I do. It was very kind of them. They seem very knowledgeable, and I'm not opposed to using them at all, but I think it's an awful lot of money that we shouldn't be spending without getting at least a second quote.
You have a second quote.
We have a quote for injections. We don't
You
have
a
kind of,
quote. There's also a quote that he just got tonight for.
oh,
tree removal.
that just came
Yeah.
from the other guy
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
same amount of trees, with the 5 new ones. Okay.
Not with the 5 hands. I think that's a bit about this.
This one here.
Okay, I assumed it was the same one from the other day. I didn't look at it.
That's possible too.
No, not, you know, now I feel like I need to toss my 2 cents in, not to be nitpicky. But our policies say that, for anything over $3,000, we're supposed to get 3 bids and put bids out to Record Eagle and Record Patriot. And, while I appreciate you're getting drawings and bids in today, and it's not, I'm not just pointing my finger at you, but I'm so tired of coming to meetings where we're supposed to be making decisions, and the first that we see the material is at the meeting. It would be really helpful, and sometimes there's time delay reasons and so forth, but it would be nice for a big decision like this, because, you know, we're talking close to the entire budget for Parks and Recreation is going to a walking park that is under publicized. I don't think most of our residents even know that we have one.
That was not my intention. We were
Well-
supposed to have a grand opening this year, but I had a little diversion.
I understand. It doesn't change the fact that the budget that we set forth for Parks and Recreation is a big chunk, if not all of it, depending on whether or not we do injections, is going for a park that isn't used enough compared to the other park that has things that are in states of disrepair. It's just, I'd appreciate it, and this is to everyone, any committee, any board member. It's helpful to have things in the packet so that we at least have a few days to look it over before we're supposed to be making an informed decision.
Okay,
all I'm
that-
saying.
That's nobody's fault but mine. I didn't get to these people until a few days before the meeting. I've had some health things that I've been dealing with, and I didn't get those estimates as soon
And
as I should have.
She gave them to me this afternoon, so.
I gave,
Okay.
the second one I gave to her this afternoon. I had it with me last week. You got the parcel one, but you didn't get the other one.
I understand these things happen. I'm saying, again, I'm not trying to be nitpicky just with today's meeting, but it repeats itself on a number of different issues, and it would be nice as a board member that is supposed to be making decisions and the fiduciary responsibility of making informed decisions, you know, the information ahead of time so that we can at least ponder it and make a good decision.
Okay, some information that I would like you to put in your, in your head is the amount of money that we have not spent on the park. All the work that's been done over there has been all volunteer work. We have refused to take any money for any of the work that we do. The people who are doing the work there are all volunteers, including Glenn Worth, who's doing the mowing down the center trail. He's doing that did that as a volunteer. And I also, put some personal money into supplies and stuff. I don't bother giving you bills for these things. We try to keep it as cheap as possible.
Well,
Really. And we have really spent, other than the excavation of the driveway and the parking lot,
Mhm.
we've spent very little money, really.
Well, and it's appreciated by me and the rest of the community. It doesn't change the fact that we're spending this money on one park and,
Well, that wasn't our intention originally. We originally planned to spend a lot of money on the other part, but it wasn't approved by the board for what we wanted to do, and we could not get 3 estimates that we were required to get on some of those things, because there weren't 3 people to go to for some of those. There was only like 1 person. So it became a matter of, not being able to do what the board wanted us to do, to make those improvements on the park, so we just kind of gave up and concentrated our energies over in the Lamb Road Park, where we had people volunteering to do it. It's been hard to get people to volunteer to do anything, as you know. It's just
believe
not-
me, I understand.
So we didn't have a long list of volunteers to work on the Lake Ann Road Park, to get some things done. And we didn't have the approval of the board to do the few things that we did originally want to do. So I guess I'm just trying to be a little defensive on the part of the Parks Committee.
Well, I don't want you to be defensive, and again, part of this, I've only been at this since last December, so I'm missing some of the history that goes along with all of this, and just reading the tea leaves as they are in front of me.
Any other public comment?
Oh, we don't have, maybe not. I'm freezing. I asked you to go get me a coat out of my
Close
car.
public comment, 7:12. Alan, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned, 7:12.
Trust me, Peggy, I do appreciate the volunteer efforts. It's hard to get volunteers to volunteer for just about anything.
Well, we were a small band.
Well, we also, when we were out there, we were concerned that the cement is getting wrecked. It's just sitting there. Because it's not, like, part of the tarp has come off. And I know that's not, I know it's not. Well, Dave said he was
Put it on
gonna
the
get all the
website.
people lined up, and that's what I said. Why aren't we just
Is that
hiring
what's on
somebody
the
to do
website?
it?
Well,
It's on the front page of the website, and it's on the calendar, and it's posted in several different spots.
Okay. I did get an email from somebody, but I'm not
So
sure.
someone
It
else.
may have been from,
I was just wondering if you had an email distribution list or something I wanted